Move, nigga. Get out the way. If I see you on the highway, get the fuck out of my way.
Hey, Mike!
Will Smith recently opened up about what it would take for him to return for Bad Boys 5, and it turns out he's not jumping back in just for the paycheck. The actor, who's been one of Hollywood's most recognizable stars thanks to decades of hits like Independence Day, Men in Black, and I Am Legend, made it clear that any potential sequel has to feel right. He just wrapped up Bad Boys Ride or Die with Martin Lawrence, and the film turned out to be a big hit at the summer box office, drawing praise from both fans and critics. Naturally, with Ride or Die doing so well, people are already wondering whether a fifth installment is in the cards. It's a fair question, especially considering the franchise has had an interesting journey. After Bad Boys 2 came out in 2003 and didn't quite meet expectations, fans had to wait nearly 2 decades for Bad Boys for Life, which finally dropped in 2020. That third film brought the series roaring back to life, and now Ride or Die is being hailed as one of the strongest entries yet. Some even say it's on par with the original from 1995, which is saying a lot. Smith and Lawrence have always had this effortless chemistry on screen, and that's a huge part of the franchise's charm. They've made a bunch of money playing detectives Mike Lowrey and Marcus Burnett over the years, but it's not just about the financials anymore, at least not for them. According to Smith, he's only interested in doing Bad Boys 5 if it brings something meaningful to the table. He said he never wanted to be that guy who just keeps making sequels because he knows people will show up. For him, it's about having a story worth telling, one where the characters are growing in a way that's still fun and possibly even a little thought-provoking. Martin Lawrence seems to be on the same page. He mentioned how much he enjoys working with Smith and said that as long as fans are excited and asking for more, he's happy to keep the ride going. That kind of enthusiasm is important because even though Bad Boys has always delivered when it comes to action and laughs, it's never really felt like a soulless cash grab. Of course, the studio, Sony Pictures, is still paying close attention to box office numbers, but there's always been this sense that the people involved in making the movies genuinely enjoy doing it. That's probably why Bad Boys 5 still feels like a real possibility. Smith and Lawrence are still clearly having a great time, and their chemistry hasn't faded one bit, even after all these years. In fact, Ride or Die proves that the franchise hasn't lost its spark, even after almost 30 years. It's still got energy, laughs, and that signature buddy cop vibe that fans love. That winning formula is tough to beat, which makes it pretty likely we'll see another film. Interestingly, Martin Lawrence dropped a little hint recently during an interview with Entertainment Tonight. When asked about the future of the series, he didn't confirm anything concrete, but he did say conversations are definitely happening behind the scenes at Sony. He hasn't talked through specific story ideas with Smith yet, but just the fact that the studio's engaged is a promising sign. According to Lawrence, Bad Boys is their baby, and getting 4 successful movies out of it already feels like a win. Still, he said he's thinking, we gotta give you 5. So that's where things stand. No script or official announcement just yet, but movement behind the scenes is definitely underway. Now, if you're wondering why Sony's even entertaining a 5th movie, it all comes down to how well Ride or Die performed. Critics gave it a decent 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, but the real story was with audiences who absolutely loved it. The film scored a 96% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes' popcorn meter, which is pretty impressive. Financially, the movie did great too. With a budget around $100 million, it brought in over $400 million worldwide. That kind of return is hard to ignore, especially considering it came just a couple of years after Smith's now infamous Oscar slap. Clearly, the public hasn't turned on him, and Sony knows he still has that big box office magic. Altogether, the Bad Boys franchise has now passed the $1 billion mark globally. That's no small feat. But interestingly, even if Bad Boys 5 smashes all records, it still wouldn't help Smith break one of his personal career box office records. That just shows how strong his overall track record has been. Still, it's clear that Bad Boys remains one of his most bankable and beloved franchises, and that momentum is part of why a 5th movie seems likely. That said, while there's interest, it doesn't sound like they've nailed down a story just yet. And honestly, that's a good thing. After how well Ride or Die was received, they can't just crank out a sequel without a solid plot. Otherwise, it risks coming across as unnecessary or like they're just milking the brand. Fans want to see Mike and Marcus again, sure, but only if there's a great reason for them to be back. So what could Bad Boys 5 actually be about? There's a bunch of directions they could go in. The ending of Ride or Die left a few threads hanging, which means there's still more story to tell. Co-writer Chris Bremner recently talked about some ideas they've been tossing around, and one of them involves taking the franchise international. In an interview with Screen Rant, he mentioned that Southeast Asia could be a really fun and fresh setting for the duo, especially because it has a tropical vibe similar to Miami. Europe or even the Middle East were also brought up as potential new backdrops. Changing the setting could actually be a great move. The first Bad Boys was entirely set in Miami, but the later movies started branching out. In Bad Boys 2, Mike and Marcus head to Cuba to rescue Marcus's sister Sid. And in Bad Boys for Life, they end up in Mexico City trying to bring down a major villain. These location changes have helped keep things feeling new, even when the core formula remains the same. In Ride or Die, there's even a storyline involving the Romanian mafia and a posthumous accusation against Captain Howard, which could easily push Mike and Marcus into international territory once again. Romania or other parts of southeastern Europe could make for a cool and different setting, especially if it ties into the mystery from the last film. What's clear is that the setting in these movies actually matters. Taking the characters out of their comfort zone has become part of the franchise's appeal. It helps raise the stakes and opens the door for bigger, more interesting action sequences. So, if Bad Boys 5 does move forward, it wouldn't be surprising to see Mike and Marcus chasing bad guys far from Miami once again. All in all, while nothing is officially locked in, the stars are aligned for another chapter in the Bad Boy story. Smith and Lawrence are game, the studio is listening, and the last movie was a certified hit. That's a pretty solid foundation for Bad Boys 5. The only thing left is the story, because without a fresh take or some real character development, it could risk being more of the same. But given the passion behind the project and how well these two actors continue to work together, there's plenty of reason to believe they'll come up with something great. So while fans might have to be patient, it's looking more and more like Mike and Marcus will ride again. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop. And if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments.